Welcome to Absolutely Auburn, a podcast from the City of Auburn's communications team. Thanks for tuning in. First, a note from Jenn.
This episode of Absolutely Auburn focuses on the city's infrastructure projects and proposed public safety building. We feel that it's important for you to know that it was recorded prior to the horrific events that took place in our community on October 25th. On Election Day, November 7th, Auburn residents will decide whether to move forward with a new public safety building. This episode is intended to be educational and informational. If you would like more information on this project, visit auburnpublicsafety.com. Our community was forever changed on October 25th. Listeners, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Together, we will move forward.
Here's our episode.
Welcome back to Absolutely Auburn. I'm your host, Jenn Bonig, and joining me, as always, in the studio is our fabulous producer, Abby Bourne.
Hi, Jen.
Abby and I are a little closer today than usual in the studio, but that's okay. Today, we also have joining us Derek Boulanger, the city's facilities manager, along with Auburn Fire Department's Deputy Chief, Matt Fifield, and Auburn Police Department's Deputy Chief, Tim Cougle. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Investing in our city's infrastructure is critical to the safety and well-being of our community. So, Derek, as the facilities manager, can you explain a little more about what you do and what a typical workday looks like for you?
Good morning, Jenn, Abby. Thank you for having me. So the facilities manager role is one of the many hats I wear for the city, along with purchasing and energy for the city. So under the facilities manager role, responsible for the design, construction, operation, maintenance of all the vertical infrastructure owned and leased by the city. Under the energy hat, it's all electricity supply contracts, renewable energy agreements, natural gas, diesel, gasoline, and citywide energy efficiency measures. The purchasing role, I help all city departments procuring goods and services. So with all that being said, a typical work day consists of coordination, communication with staff, engineers, architects, contractors, suppliers, from addressing heating and cooling issues, working with fire department on specifications for a bid package for a fire truck, or negotiating contracts to doing a podcast.
Which you love, by the way.
It's great.
We can
it's
tell.
Great.
You love it. So residents may not know, but obviously planning ahead is critically important for the city. And we have a 5-year capital improvement plan, which is updated annually because priorities and needs change and shift over time as things happen. So it's always important to keep the big picture in mind. Derek, can you tell us what makes a city project a capital project? And is it the price, the scope, duration? I guess, how do we kind of determine what goes into that capital improvement plan?
Sure. A capital project is an investment in the procurement of construction of a significant asset. So we, the city, define it as an initial individual cost of over $10,000 and an estimated useful life of more than 2 years. So some examples would be road projects, roof replacement projects, replacement of fire apparatus, renovation or replacement of city facilities.
So what capital projects do we currently have in the works? I mean, I can think of some things off the top of my head, but I'm sure you, as kind of that project manager, in essence, would have a better list. So what do we have going on?
All right. We got a lot of great things going on. We just wrapped up indoor lighting replacement project at Ingersoll Turf Facility, and we've got a new HVAC system currently being installed at the Hasty Community Center. So that replaces the old inefficient steam system with a new efficient system for increased comfort and indoor air quality. And both of these projects received incentives through Efficiency Maine to lower the overall project cost. We're currently in design for the Pal Community Center project, with construction expected to begin in June of 2024. We're really excited about this one and the positive impact it's going to have on the neighborhood and the community as a whole. Also, we have Engine 2 replacement project in New Auburn in schematic design right now. That station, much needed station, will be replacing the existing one that was constructed back in 1952. And the largest project that I've personally been involved with for the past 7 years is a combined public safety facility, which would combine police and fire in one building at the current central fire. So as it relates to your question on capital planning, we review all city assets based on a number of factors: age, condition, operational efficiency, accessibility, safety, etc. Then we make a recommendation, request funding for repairs, renovations, or as a replacement as part of the capital plan. But due to the significance of this project, the dollar amount, the importance, we've gone through this very long process, a lot of due diligence with studies, comprehensive studies, with subject matter experts. It's been quite extensive. We had an ad hoc committee involved, really looking at should we continue to invest millions into this aging infrastructure, or do we look at a whole new facility, purpose-built facility? And the recommendation to move forward with a new building went to the city council, and they sent the project to referendum, so the voters get to decide on November 7th the direction of public safety in Auburn moving forward. The whole process has been really a great experience. It's been working with these guys, police and fire, and really getting a better understanding and appreciation for all they do and all it takes for their operations.
So, Deputy Chief Fifield, Derek just mentioned it's going to be the proposed public safety building would be at Central Fire, which is on 550 Minot Avenue. Do we have room there? And what sort of improvements is the fire department looking for in redoing that facility?
First of all, good morning, ladies. And to answer your question, Jen, yeah, we have plenty of room there now. The city currently owns 2 lots at 550 Minot Avenue, totaling about 8 acres, plus or minus 8 acres, with plenty of road frontage. And some of the preliminary design work that Derek's been involved with has, fit the buildings and all the proposed buildings on that lot, improved that we have plenty of room for that. Some of the things we're looking forward to with the fire department, the new potential fire department there. If you didn't know, that the original building, the current building, was built in the early 1970s. So as you can imagine, over the years, the need has changed for the fire department. And some of those things that we know about now are a lot of the contaminants our staff deal with on a daily basis, whether it's a emergency medical situation where they're dealing with biohazard contaminants, but also contaminants in our fire gear. So over the years, in your home, a lot of the furniture now has fire retardant material in it. When that gets heated to a certain temperature, it does off gas and end up exposing our staff to some chemicals that have been known to be known carcinogens. So one of the things that this new facility would do for us is it would give separation from the living and working space for that gear and separate that from our staff. So there'd be some engineered solutions to isolate the staff and living from that. It also provides an area for our staff to go after a call and bring their gear or their uniform and get into a decon space and clean themselves up, and also get that gear into our in-house washing facility. It's called an extractor that pulls and cleans that gear depending on what matter is on it. One of the other things that we've learned over the last bunch of years is a contaminant for our firefighters is also diesel exhaust fumes. So the current station does capture some of that, but there's no separation from the staff and the truck bay area, and those diesel exhaust fumes have been proven to be a carcinogen as well. So a new facility would attend to all the needs for that and bring our facility up to date with the most current standards on that. One of the other things we deal with, hazardous things for the firefighters and EMS providers is cardiac issues. Getting woken up in the middle of the night to respond to whatever that emergency is hard on the heart. So we want to make sure we have a great workout facility and fitness facility for our staff. Our new proposed building would have that, and it would also be a shared space with the police department, and so that would benefit our staff. Another issue is our current ladder truck, we call it a tower truck or a truck company, is stationed up to Center Street Station. And that truck can only carry 300 gallons of water, and that district really needs more than that. So ideally, it would make sense to have that particular unit at Central Station, but the current 1970s building does not support the weight of that truck, which is almost 80,000 pounds. So the new facility would be built to attend to that. Another issue we're dealing with as the workforce has changed over the years is making sure that we have a living and working area that attends to the diverse working group that we are receiving now. The new building obviously would help us with that. Currently, the building was not built. It's open spaces with no privacy, very little bathroom privacy. So we really need to make those changes because that's what the workforce requires now. Training. So training is something we do every day, just like the police department. We do it on a regular basis. We really lack a dedicated training space right now to do in-house training. Obviously, you can imagine a lot of the work we do is focused on the medical side of the business. So whether it's a mannequin that we work on or training equipment, it's really important that we have that up and set ready to use at any point. So the new facility will also help us with that. Medical records, we don't have, we're an extension of the hospital. We don't have a really good facility to create those records and maintain those records. So that is one of the changes we have to implement in the future, and we're hopeful that this building will help us. And lastly, we talked about in-house training, but we do a lot of practical training outside in the field. And if you have been by our 550 Mine Avenue location, you know we have a building out back that we use on a regular basis, as do many other communities. That building is reached its useful peak for us, and it's time to replace that. So part of this project, there's been a lot of focus on the fire department and the police department, but the third leg of this is getting a new training facility that would be situated out back of the facility. That's important for what we do. It's important for what our mutual aid partners do, but I'm really happy to let people know that this building will also be available to the new program that starts in 2024 through the LRTC program at our new high school. So if you didn't know, that program is in development phase of a fire science program and an EMS program that's already running. Those students will have our facility and the new training facility and all of our equipment at their disposal to use in the future, should this get passed by the voters.
I just wanted to say, so Liz and I, my boss, went to the fire station a few weeks ago, I don't know, a month ago now. And if people haven't seen it, we made a video, public safety building tour of both the Central Fire Station and the police station. I really encourage everybody to watch that because I think from a outsider's perspective, I don't know much about, police and fire. I was really surprised, especially with the fire station, with how, some of the conditions that the fire service people have to live and work in. Really, I was most surprised by the beds, and it's like a sheet that separates the room from the outside of the room, I guess. So I think I personally believe that these people are putting their lives on the line for all of us and really do deserve a better living and working space. So I think seeing that visual was really impactful for me, walking through that space. And I think if people aren't sure what this building would do for the fire and police in Auburn, I think it would make a huge difference. But also it's just a sense of there needs to be dignity for these people. And also, as a woman, you want more diversity in the fire and police service. And currently the buildings don't really prioritize that because they were built a long time ago. And it's not, it's just building for the future now. So I think just a plug for the video that I made. It is on our Facebook page. It's just a visual to give to what we're talking about here is for people to see that.
Yeah, it's important. As we said, needs and priorities change over time. So yeah, in the 70s, we weren't as knowledgeable about some of those carcinogens, having some of those physical barriers between workspace and sleep space and yeah, diversity, privacy, all of those things. Times change, and we need a facility that reflects that, especially when you are trying so hard to recruit new talent as well. Having those state-of-the-art facilities, that's important when you're competing with a variety of cities and departments across the state. So it's definitely important. And I know we focused on the fire side. Deputy Chief Cougle, the police department is located here in City Hall. And that was supposed to be temporary, but that was more than 12 years ago now.
A long 12 years.
A long 12 years. So it's a long temporary period. What challenges do you face being in this current space, and how would the new proposed facility help address those challenges?
Well, hello, Jen, and thanks for having me. Some of the challenges we face here at Auburn Hall may not be readily known to the public. When you drive by the building, it's a beautiful building. And sometimes when we're making the case here and trying to educate the public on why we need a different facility for the police, it may sound like we're being critical of Auburn Hall. And Auburn Hall is a beautiful building. It was well designed in its time, and it's well maintained. However, the problem for us isn't the building. It's that the building was not designed to be a police department or to have us here. It serves the public very well when they come in for tax purposes or building permits. And up on the third and fourth floor, the police are on the third floor as well as in the basement. That's really set up to be offices for maybe like an attorney or accounting business or whatnot. So all of our functions in the police department are very specific to what we do and need facilities that accommodate that, are designed for that. So there's several different challenges, and I'll go through just a couple of them. But the first thing is, and I think the most obvious to the public who may come to this building or work in this building, is prisoner detainee. We have to bring prisoners here, oftentimes to process them. We walk them from a cruiser, maybe in handcuffs or whatnot. Some are not always as happy to be with us as others. And they're coming right through public facing areas where, people that work in the building, as well as people coming in for pay their taxes or whatnot. They share the same entrance right through the back, right down to the police department. That's just not acceptable. It's not appropriate, quite frankly. We do our best to mitigate those interactions, but they still happen. And I think those are oftentimes alarming to people. It's understandable. We also have the other side of that, where it's victims. We don't have a proper place to bring a victim in of a crime. And you can imagine some of the sensitive crimes that take place. And we have victims that we need to respect their privacy and be able to bring them here and interview them in a confidential, manner, where they're not sort of exposed to potential suspects, but also to the general public. So I think that's a big one for us. As far as for our staff, a lot like the fire department, right? It's living, we don't live here, but it's living quarters. It's, our locker rooms are very inadequate. We have lockers that we brought over from the old police department that were hand-me-downs then. They were sort of spray painted at a body shop, drug over, put into what is theoretically a large office space, certainly not a locker room. So when the officers are changing for their shifts, they're leaving, going through a public lobby, down a hallway that everyone has access to, just to get to a single restroom and single shower stall. And then, of course, there's a gym that's back inside. So you have that in and out through public facing places for guys that are here to maintain their physical well-being through the gym and just locker room changing into uniforms and whatnot. We also everything here is sort of we've outgrown it, quite frankly. We lack locker space. Another area that's really critical to us, and we've had some recent issues with flooding, is our evidence area. We don't have a properly designed or built evidence area. We've made do for the last 12 plus years. It's been a challenge. I think at least 3, possibly 4 times that area has flooded, and we have lost some evidence. Luckily, we've been able to catch it and salvage the important stuff before it could be damaged in most of the cases. But that is also an area that really needs to be enhanced. Technology has changed how you process evidence when you're dealing with narcotics, some, very deadly, even to just, airborne exposure. Those things need to have a properly ventilated space to test and process, package. Also, there's biohazards and things like that we can't adequately deal with in the current space. So that's probably, that's one of the other big ones. I think back to the public aspect of it, our courtyard, we have cruisers parked in the public courtyard where the public has to access, often zooming out of here, with lights and sirens going to emergency calls, and the public may not always be expecting that or aware of that. And, we've become accustomed to it and try to be very cognizant of what we're doing and where we're doing it. But But that's an area that I think is just a public safety concern all the way around that would be addressed in a new facility, such as the one that's been designed. The Deputy Chief Fifield mentioned for fire, training. We also are in desperate need of an updated and larger training facility. We have a small room on the third floor that we host trainings and that we provide some training, but we don't have a place where we can train our entire staff at one time, or even half our staff really at one time. So that's a problem for us. That makes it makes the efficiency of what we do a big challenge. We also, like I said, we host trainings. It's important for police departments it helps with recruiting, but it also provides us with discounts on training when we are bringing in an instructor, for our own people to attend, and that's open to outside people. So we've had to really limit what we've been able to do here at Auburn Hall and the types of trainings that we host, bringing in national instructors and things like that. So we hope to be able to do more of that, because that's a win-win for the police department and the city. We save money and we get top-notch training for our officers when we have a proper facility that can accommodate 25, 30 or so, or even more people. I think that really covers some of the big challenges. I mean, I'm sure there's others, but for now, those are the ones that I really wanted to make mention to you.
Jen, if I could, I'd like to add one other little note to the public safety building and one of the benefits of it. As you can imagine, the cost of a facility like this is a big ask on the voters. Obviously, we've talked about the need for it, and hopefully people agree with us on that. But one of the savings here is that we're building not just a fire department or just a police department separately, that we're building a combined facility. With that, there's a lot of shared space, and we're not going to duplicate those efforts at other sites. Some of those examples would be, your entrance area, your parking area, your workout facilities, some of the locker rooms, those type of things. There's a lot of shared space. So the city of Auburn's not going to do that twice, I guess my point is.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a great point. And as Abby mentioned earlier, there are some video tours of the current spaces. I encourage everyone to take a look at that, especially if you are unsure or unfamiliar with the project. You can find those videos at auburnpublicsafety.com. We have a website for that. And there's some other more kind of bulleted list, I guess, of things that kind of clarify both on the police and fire side, some of those things that both deputy chiefs have mentioned here, but additional things I'm sure as well, because you can't remember everything, right? You just can't. There's also a schedule of some upcoming public meetings that are happening in the various wards. So it doesn't matter what ward you live in, everyone's getting the same information. So if you missed it in your ward, check out where some of those other upcoming meetings are. You're welcome to attend any of the meetings, no matter where you live in the city of Auburn, just to get some more information from folks. So earlier, I asked Derek about a typical workday. And normally, and this is something we ask everyone, and virtually everyone has said there is nothing typical about our day. I can only imagine that the same is true for fire and police, but I'm still going to ask you the question. So, Deputy Chief Fifield, what does a typical, quote unquote, typical day look like for you?
Well, first of all, I'll say it's not as exciting as the staff out on the street doing the important work on the street. We have a lot of great people out there, very talented people that are doing the exciting stuff when you see them going on the calls. My job is really more focused on the operations of the department. So my job is, for all intents and purposes, is the operations director of the fire department. So my goal every day when I arrive, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, is first I meet with Chief Chase quickly, keep him updated on what might have happened the previous day and previous night, and then we quickly go into a meeting with our supervisors for each of our shifts that it happens to be on for the day, and review any of the challenges or questions they might have for us and get them going on their day. And then we dive right into, what can we do, what can I do to help them have everything they need to do their job. So that may be facility needs, something's broken at a facility. It's also apparatus needs. As you can imagine, the trucks need service, preventive maintenance, but they also need repair. So I help them with that. I also help with any safety concerns, not just the fire department within the city. I am also the safety director for the city. So any injuries within the city, I assist our HR department with whatever that person might need for treatment. I also work with the workman's comp people, to make sure that we're covering everything we should, and evaluate each one of those injuries and implement any changes we may need for the future to prevent those. I do a lot of report review. I spend a lot of time on that, trying to make sure that those are completed and meet all the state requirements that we might have, but also learn what our staff's doing every day and help Chief Chase with policy development and management so that we can make sure we have the most updated policies given what type of emergencies they're dealing with on a daily basis. One of the last things that early when I took this job was not consuming a lot of my time, but has in the last bunch of years has been recruitment. So I am the lead when it comes to recruitment at the fire department. So I spend a lot of time visiting colleges, high schools, job fairs, and working on our process to attract people to the department, and then follow that process through our physical agility test and interview process, and prepare a list for Chief Chase to make decisions on for employment. Not very exciting, but that's my job every day. I work an administrative schedule Monday through Friday. I do get to respond on a few emergencies from time to time, and come from home sometimes to assist the staff on the larger emergencies.
Right. It's important work. You need someone's going to make the world go round, right? So
I guess so.
That's what you need. You need someone to handle the operations side. Deputy Chief Cougle, what does a typical workday look like for you?
Well, Matt, being a deputy chief of the police, by a lot of the descriptions that Matt just gave for the fire, it's very similar as far as the operations manager. That's essentially the definition of my job, is manage the operations of the police department. And not to duplicate everything Matt said, but that's soup to nuts, like hiring, promotions, recruitment, training. It involves all those different functions, all the personnel issues and public issues that come in are typically addressed at least at some level by me. And, report review, as well as responding to significant events throughout the city. I also work typical administrative schedule, but I'm on call 24 hours for large incidents when they do arise, to respond and assist the gentlemen and ladies that are out on the street, as Matt said, doing the heroic work. So, our jobs are not as exciting on paper as they, or even explaining them, but they're very interesting jobs. You deal with a variety, like I said, from patrol officers up through serving the public on committees, representing the police department, in different city committees and public committees as well.
Well, and it's funny you say most interesting, because that's my next question. What is the most interesting part of your job?
Well, like we were talking about earlier with like emergency calls, a lot of people will think, initially that's the most interesting thing, right? Well, it is. Those are adrenaline calls. They're exciting. But when you've been doing the job for a while, they tend not to be as exciting as they once were for you, So for me, what I found is I enjoy, after doing this job this long, is working with the new generation, or the younger generation of men and women that are entering law enforcement. And yes, recruitment is always a challenge for public safety nationwide, but we are still bringing on new people, and they really are remarkable. And to do this job for as long as I've done it, and then be able to do essentially the same job, but with these younger folks and the technology and the skills that they have, and see how they are adapting and doing what we've done, but doing it differently, and how we're working with them. That's really the most exciting and interesting part of my day-to-day job.
How about you, Deputy Chief Fifield? What's the most interesting part of your job?
So like Deputy Chief Cougle, responding on calls would be very interesting. If I could do that all day, that would be fun. But the most interesting part for me is really problem solving, and, really taking a problem that, they come up every day, stuff that happens while they're responding on calls, or stuff within the department with our apparatus facilities, really looking at those problems, getting to know our staff, and getting to know who has the skills to help me get it done. So, I shouldn't say help me get it done. They do a lot of the work. So, really learning the staff, problem solving, and really lining that up, because we have a lot of very talented people. I'm sure everybody knows firefighters have a lot of different skills. They do a lot of different things, and we're no different than any other department. And usually when a problem comes up, I can immediately know who to go to.
Mhm.
So I'm very thankful for that. But I like being the person that gets to think that through and think, how are we going to solve this problem, and utilize our great staff.
And Derek, you don't get out of this question. So what's the most interesting part of your job?
I was trying to get out of it.
I know you were slinking back there.
Oh, I agree with Matt. Really, it's a lot of problem solving every day. Being here for 11 years now, it's kind of, I've become a catch-all for a lot of things. Where when people don't know where to go or who to ask or what to do, they end up calling me or sending me an email, and then
You want to become a police officer?
So, and just providing the resources and responding and figuring out, how to solve those issues. Also, what's interesting is just the evolution and technology just keeps changing as the years go on, and we just keep adapting, and things are getting better. And so it's just interesting that it's never stagnant. Everything is always in motion here, always fluid. So I enjoy that.
Yes. Yeah. The variety. I would agree. I can get bored easily. So I like the variety too. You can kind of do the same thing, but the problems that come at you are always a little bit different. So
Right.
I understand that fully. Now, question for all three of you. What is your favorite thing about Auburn? It does not have to be work related.
I'll start with that.
I was going to say anyone
I'll
can
go
go
first.
first.
I just like the fact of the rural nature of Auburn mixed with the city feel. We have the best of both worlds in Auburn. We have, the lake, Taylor Pond, we have Lost Valley, trails everywhere. And then you have your downtown, your retail district, and not a lot of places can offer both of those to the extent that Auburn does.
Stole my answer.
That's why I went first.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just to echo what Chief Cougle's had to say, Auburn's unique, almost 67 square miles. If you look at really any other place in the state of Maine, they're much smaller than that. Even the big cities, Portland, South Portland, that everybody is accustomed to going and visiting. Auburn is at least double the size of those areas, but we have a lot of the amenities that we need here. So with the fire department, what that does for us is it requires us to train on a lot of different things. It could be a hiker injured up on Mount Appetite. It could be a snowmobile accident, at the basin. It could be a rope rescue on the edge of the river, or downtown, apartment building fire. So we have to be prepared for a lot of those things, but the variety, I think, brings variety to the job, which sometimes can be very repetitive for our staff. So I think the variety for Auburn, and just it's a beautiful place to live too. So
You don't get out of it, Derek. What's your favorite thing about Auburn?
My favorite thing about Auburn, I would have to say the people, the culture here. I've moved around quite a bit when I was younger. I lived in Boston a few different times, lived in Florida for a bit, but ended up coming back here, from here originally, to, raise my kids. And that's because of the culture that's here. It's the people, it's the identity that we've created here. There's a collective investment into the community. People want to see things better and do things right. And even here, at City Hall and across citywide, I think the staff here echoes that as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I moved back home to raise my kids too. So, and I had been various places. Nothing as exciting as Boston, but I mean, some people might consider New Jersey somewhat exciting, but others may not.
I don't know, Jen.
It's okay. It's okay. So just a quick reminder, visit auburnpublicsafety.com to get more information about the proposed public safety building project. You can see videos. You can also find the public meeting schedule there. Also, for a list of current projects that are happening, you can also go to the city's website, auburnmaine.gov. If you scroll down kind of to the bottom of the homepage under popular topics, you'll see current projects. So if there's paving happening or other things, you'll find that information on our website as well. So I just want to say thank you to Derek, Deputy Chief Fifield, and Deputy Chief Cougle for joining us today and sharing some more insights on projects and some of the needs that you all have in your jobs.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Absolutely Auburn. You can find all things Auburn, Maine at auburnmaine.gov and goauburn.me. You can also listen to us anytime, anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio, just to name a few. The City of Auburn's communications team wants to remind you that Absolutely Auburn is the only official podcast for the City of Auburn, Maine.